Fun. Hi, guys. Tonight we have Dr. Michael Koch. Actually, he just told me not to call him doctor all the time. Imported at great expense from Germany. Mike is a fascinating man. He was born in 1952 in Frankfurt. He's been an activist since he was 16 years old. He taught social sciences and pedagogy at a university, and I had to Google that, and I'm still not sure I understand what it means. He has been involved in, if there is a movement for social change, he has been involved in it. And he and his wife co-founded the German Leonard Peltier International Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. So I will turn it over to Mike. Let me know when you want me to start your PowerPoint.
Okay. Yeah, at first, yeah, thanks for welcoming me and introducing me. So I don't have to lose words about this. Thanks for inviting me to talk. And I was wondering at first, what could I say to the people on the other side of the ocean about, yeah, strategies of support work or what we are doing here in Europe. Just to say it clear in the beginning, no, we don't think that we are very smart and clever. We think we're doing something as we learned it also in our job. We try to do it in a professional way. And for us, that also includes that we want to work in a cooperative style, in very transparent, and yeah, and we want to guarantee that we are working also over a long time. So, as I said, I'm wondering what could be interesting for you when I'm talking about what we're doing here in Europe and in Germany in the support work for Leonard Peltier. And at first, I want to excuse my not so good English. Yeah, it was a long time ago that I was in school, and I just must recognize after my first COVID infection in 2020, I was not back in the United States or in Canada, and I hope next year I will be back because we have there a lot of friends. What could you expect this next minutes, hours, days, nights? No, I'm kidding. What could you expect? Yeah, I just want to talk about how we started our support work, because it was a nice story there behind, and how our support work developed all the years. And we are still a small group, our organization, but we are swimming like a whale in a big ocean with a lot of other whales, in a tribe of whales, and that makes it also for a small group possible to have with this work a bigger impact. And I think if we really want to work in a successful way, it's necessary that we share our knowledge about how we are working, that we inform us what we are doing, and find, maybe sometimes it's necessary to walk on different ways, but with the same target. But it's in our eyes very important that we are working in a cooperative style, and that's what we developed in the last 2 years, 3 years here, more and more here in Europe. And in the moment, we try to evaluate the whole thing, just to build up our strategies more with a higher impact in future. So how we start being involved in Leonard's case. Yes, when I was young, and believe me, 70 years before, I was pretty young, but in my age of 16, that was 68, we were engaged as young people, like in a lot of parts in the world, in anti-war movements and in the Black Power movement here, also in Germany, because we have had a lot of GIs here in Germany. And we met us on rock concerts and so on, talking about the war in Vietnam and about the civil rights movement and about Black Power. And by the way, we recognize also who Red Power is also rising up. So that these were the first contacts. And yeah, all the years there were always some bridges to Red Power or indigenous people. Sometimes they came over to our struggles and supporting us, especially in environmental struggles in the early 80s here in the Frankfurt area. And later we support them in their struggles, for example, in the Navajo-Hopi area, was the conflict about coal mining in the Black Mesa area and the Big Mountain area. And so it was, we experienced solidarity is not a one-way street. We have to work together, we have to inform together, and that makes this big ocean very small sometimes. In summer 2000, I finished my doctor. That's the last time I'm talking about doctor. And my wife made me a present to a journey to Canada, where we were staying in the backcountry together with First Nation people. And after 3 weeks, it was planned that we return to Saskatoon. And I just say 2-3 sentences about this last day, because we were visiting a little island on the Wollaston Lake in Saskatchewan with some Dene friends, and they showed us what kind of herbs they use for as medicine and so on. And by the way, I saw close to the beach that I saw some wolf tracks and some bear tracks. And all the guys jumped into their motorboats, and I was tying them up from the trees, from the branches, just with a face to the boats. And suddenly people are crying, but I couldn't hear because there was nothing to hear. Some took their cameras for making snapshots. And I turned around and it was my back, a black bear. Well, maybe 3 meters from my back. And I think that was an amazing last day for me here in this area, in the Wollaston Post. And in the night, I was sitting on the rock outside of Wollaston Post and watching the northern lights a little bit. And suddenly 3 wolves came to me. And they're just staying in front of me, maybe 1 meter in front of me. And I start talking with the wolves. Next morning, I was telling this our Dene friends, but they told me, Mike, that's too late. Sorry, the bear was first. So your warrior name is Big Bear, not Big Wolf. And I'll have a look at you. You're 6.5 feet high. You're more a bear than a wolf. So this were my first experiences with First Nation people in America. We returned the next day to Saskatoon, and there was a kind of street art festival. And Claudia, my wife, and as you said, co-founder of our organization, we found in a bookstore a leaflet, Clemency Campaign for Leonard Peltier. This was August 2000. On the same night, we stood on the side of the South Saskatchewan River and looking into the dark waters and discussing what could we do when we returned to Germany, because she saw in my face that there was something working in my mind. And I told her, oh, good God, yeah, I undersigned all the years petitions and bought me a solidarity CD and this and that. Yeah, I know this case, but that's 24 years. That's a long time to be in prison. It was summer 2000. And when we returned 2 days later in Germany, we gave a call to the LPDC at that time, and they gave us the permission to build up a German support group for Leonard. So that's how we started. But what could we do in Germany? Saying, hello, we are now the new German Peltier supporters. Everybody is waiting for us. Nobody was waiting for us. So we looked, what could we do? How could we be involved in this worldwide clemency campaign? And there was an online signature list. And we saw you can decide that your email address is published as a link. And I guess from those 100,000 emails, more than 10,000 or 11,000 emails showed a link. So our little group, at that time, just my wife and me, started to write in the next 2 or 3 weeks to everybody of we can touch with this link. Yeah, we wrote 11,000 emails in the nighttime with a little bit of help from my both sons. And by the way, we came in contact with relatives from Leonard, with some AIM people, and a lot of other people from different parts of the United States and Canada, Indigenous people, non-native people. And so we really had, after 1 month, 1.5 months, the first contacts. One of those contacts was the cousin of Leonard, Jim Robidoux, and he was invited by Amnesty International in Poland to come to Germany, and Amnesty asked us, would you be involved in this journey and be the co-organizer? And so we organized together the journey of Jim Robidoux. And so Jim's profession was, he was also social worker, and Claudia and me, we are also youth workers and social workers working with young people. That leads to another issue of support work, because 4 years after this, we start our first youth projects on the Pine Ridge Reservation with German and Lakota youth. Okay, that was the very, very beginning. We start with signature campaigns in Germany. We made a telephone attack campaign for the 2nd of December in 2000, and we heard by the operators of the White House that the whole system collapsed, because more than 50,000 people were tried worldwide to give calls to the White House. And then we saw, okay, I guess we are on the right path, but still blue-eyed a little bit. We were just jumping into a new world. Yeah, we read a lot about Indigenous issues, about the genocide history, about Leonard's case, about American Indian movement, this and that. But we really were a little bit blue-eyed all the time. And that was our first steps. And we had the chance to learn, because we met a lot of good people, artists, activists who are also coming to Germany, and we could make with them information journeys through Germany, like Henry Red Cloud, like musicians like Mitch Walking Elk or Wade Fernandez from the Menominee people, and so we jumped more and more deeper into the Indigenous world, and all our hope was Leonard would be free very, very soon, so that we could take our energy for the struggles in our country. But we are in the year 2021, and Leonard is now close to 47 years in prison, and we are still struggling for Leonard. We must recognize, for some people here in Germany, we were too radical and too much political, because the background of us is Claudia is coming from the environmental, feministic, and anti-racist movements. I'm coming also from the anti-Nazi leagues and anarchist movement and environmental human rights movement. And we were both engaged in social affairs and working as professionals for the Department for Youth and Welfare. But the fight for Leonard's freedom got more and more important for our life. But as I said, we must recognize for some people we were too radical. And so we founded another group, more engaged in other Indigenous issues, more a little bit with a liberal touch. Then we had two groups. They cost us a lot of energy and they cost us a lot of money to keep them running. And so we decided to make a fusion of both groups in the first decade of 2000s. And since that time, our name is Tokata, the Lakota word for future, and Leonard Peltier Support Group, or the long title is Support Group for Indigenous Social, Environmental, Cultural, and Human Rights Projects, and Leonard Peltier Support Group. And that shows also what we are also doing. So after this email campaigns, we started signature campaigns, and I guess in the last years we sent more than 12,000 signatures to the White House for Leonard. And we are still a very, very small group, but later I show you a presentation that shows we are now split it in 4 chapters in Germany. I guess sometimes, I try to remember, it was Howie Arden who once told Claudia Mir, you are a one man and one woman army. But now we are more than 30 members, but we are not staying in one part of Germany. We are staying here and there in north and south and west and east. And yeah, maybe I can show you now the presentation, and Dawn is helping me to make it a little bit transparent what we are doing. Yeah, so I tried to write it in English. So that is old Germany, and you see the 4 chapters. There's one in the north, and I see a guest, Raina. Hello, Raina, welcome tonight. There's a chapter in the northwest of Germany with their very busy people there. There's a chapter in East Germany. And the original chapter, the first one, is in the middle of the south, and that's also where our office is. So that's where I'm sitting in the moment. Okay, what we're doing, every chapter has its own way to do something. For example, in the northwest and in the east and in our area, we have monthly vigils in front of the US Embassy for Leonard. In Frankfurt, also together with the people from Mumia Abu Jamal, a black prisoner. So we are cooperating with those guys, and they are supporting us, for example, if there are vigils in Berlin, our capital city. In the north, they have vigils, but not every month. The same, but we have chapters, is, for example, in Berlin or in Cologne. They are organized in Cologne by the Northwest people, in Berlin by the Mumia people, and most of the time our people from East German chapter going up down to Berlin, but they are not every month. Those monthly vigils, for example, in Frankfurt, they are now in the 8th year. 8th year, every month is there a vigil in front of the US Embassy. So there must be a report to the White House every month that people are staying there demanding freedom for Leonard Peltier. And this in 3 cities. Yeah, maybe you show the next chapter, the next paper, the next page. Okay, just it's a little bit like school, yeah. You see our name, and 4 topics where we are working on. At first, the Leonard Peltier support group, and in the next page, I'll tell you a little bit about the 5-finger strategy. We call it 5-finger strategy. Then our other Indigenous issues we are engaged in are social projects. We are supporting youth projects. We're working together youth projects. We had a lot of youth exchange projects, 13 years long. We're supporting women projects and health projects, especially in COVID. Since COVID, and we are still supporting teenager suicide prevention projects in the Pine Ridge Reservation. Of course, we are engaged in environmental issues. So we are fighting here for our for Mother Earth in Germany. We're trying to occupy areas where they try to clean cut forests for highways or for coal mining. And so we also support the protectors of Mother Earth against pipeline fracking or tar sand oil extraction. We're also working together with people, indigenous people in Mexico, with the Zapatistan people, and there is a new project called Train Maya that's crossing the south of Mexico, and there's a German company involved. That leads me just for a little sidestep. I guess what is important to understand our work is we feel responsible as the ancestors of Europeans who were the responsibles for genocide history to indigenous people, not only in America, all over the world. And we know there is no excusation, there is nothing to forgive, but what we can promise is in our responsibility, we want not to excuse this, we want to fight that this politics are going on. And for us, that means also we see where's the heart of the beast, and that's in the capital cities or the rich countries. There are the company seats, those companies who are responsible for destroying Mother Earth, for exploit the nature, for exploit the people, and for the ongoing repression against indigenous people worldwide. And so I know there was an old group in the United States that had the credo, bring the war back at home. I don't like the word war, but we say bring the struggles back at home. And here, for example, in Frankfurt, that's a town with a lot of banks and all those brokers, and they make a lot of money with the destruction of Mother Earth and with the exploitation of people in the other part of the world. And that's where we see our responsibility to support people, for example, indigenous people, that we, for example, in the Dakota Access Oil Pipeline conflict, we supported the West campaign and invited weekend women to come to Frankfurt and to Europe and to talk with the bank directors for divest money out of those projects. Yeah, we're doing cultural projects like lectures, readings, exhibitions, concerts with indigenous artists here in Germany. But also we are supporting indigenous media projects and organizing educational trips for adults to Native America. And we are not only in Leonard's case involved in human rights work in Native country. We supported prisoners in the pipeline conflicts and we're still supporting them. Also in Canada, we try to share informations about boarding school and the founding of the mass graves, about missed and murdered indigenous girls and women, to show also the people Indian wars are still going on. Yeah, as a book title it's a book title here in Germany, Indian Wars, and I found a poster in the United States, still Indian Wars, still going on. So other topics very involved is the case of Mumia Abu Jamal against death penalty in torture campaigns. We are working together with the Grassroots Law Project in the United States and Death Penalty Action Network. And all this, you can see this. And what for us important is that we try to build a kind of network of cooperations with different groups worldwide to pull on one rope, yeah, to have a bigger impact of our work. Maybe you show the next one. It's this 5-finger strategy. I guess maybe you, I don't want to talk a lot about all the things. You see 5 fingers, and there are, you see every finger has his little explanation. There are non-violent symbolic actions, but also direct legal political actions. We are organizing political campaigns. We're doing a lot of information and public relations work. And of course, more and more cooperation and networking, and want to integrate other aspects in our fight. Yes, we start as Peltier support group and as a support group for indigenous issues, but we want to bring together what we think must be thought together. And that's the violation of human rights, the violation of Mother Earth, the violation, of course, that includes human rights, of indigenous rights. And we don't have to forget also the social struggles, the social fights, because otherwise we get divided. And we see it more and more worldwide, and the same here in Germany, but that's the same what Trump did and so on, that all those who were not born or not living on the sunny side of the societies, they were catched now by right-wing groups, and they doing like they were the attorneys of social problems. They never would be. They never would be. They're just misusing the people and to spread their, I think, really fascist virus all over the world. And unfortunately, we see it's working. And that's a critic I have here, for example, in Europe and in Germany, on our groups. Long time we missed it to show that all those things have been thought together. And we have also to look for our people who are living in poverty and so on. And maybe in this way, we are special sensitive, Claudia and me, because we are working more than 30 years in social problem areas and kind of ghettos and with social handicapped kids. And that was also a reason why we did the music projects in reservations or with supporting youth projects in Black communities in the United States. So maybe at the last picture, it's just when I'm saying cooperation networking, it gives you just a short impression. And that's not all the groups. We are in contact, we are cooperating more or less. But to being a little part of this network gives us a lot of information, gives us a lot of feedbacks also. And if we can share donations, we can spread a little bit money, for example, to indigenous youth projects, to the Zapatisten projects. Or, for example, it was not big money, but now for the Grand Government Council AIM March to Washington, so we have everywhere contacts, and that gives us a lot of informations, and we can give our informations to these groups. And I guess it's necessary to have this network if we want to think all the things are said, like human rights violation, environmental violation, indigenous rights violation, to bring it all together and also to bring other groups or make other groups thinking about, oh yeah, we're talking about Mother Earth, for example, Fridays for Future. But a long time they were not, for example, Fridays for Future here in Germany. They were not thinking about indigenous people. So 2 years later, it's totally different. A lot of young people are now thinking about how the destruction of Mother Earth is affecting indigenous people worldwide. And that's just a small example. I guess you can put this this PowerPoint presentation away, Dawn, please. So what we're doing in the moment is we have a lot of groups here in Europe, and can you finish it, Dawn? Okay, thanks. We had a lot of groups here now in Europe who are interested in the case of Leonard. And we have here in Europe a group that works a couple of years together and has now a new status. It's called the European Alliance for the Self-Determination of Indigenous People. These are 7 groups from 4 European countries. And we are not only working in context of Leonard Peltier and a lot of other issues, but we are all engaged in Leonard's case. And for example, Sylvain from France and me, we are the both guys who are the speakers for Leonard's support work in this alliance. But we've seen there are a lot of smaller groups and they don't want to be involved in the European Alliance because they are only focused on Leonard and not on other indigenous issues. For example, in Italy or in Poland. And so we decided 2 years ago as a small organization that we try to use special dates to contact all those groups and ask them, hey, are you in the mood to work together, for example, on the 6th of February? There are 3 days in the year, the 6th of February, the 26th of June, and the 12th of September, Leonard's birthday. So what could we do in Vienna, Austria, in Zurich, in Switzerland, in Paris, in France, in Roma and Milano, in Italy, in Germany, in our cities, with our 4 chapters? Maybe we can do something together, but everybody in its own country. And then bring it all together, make a little YouTube video out of this, and not for showing the people, how great are the Europeans working for Leonard. No bullshit. That's not the reason why. It's just to show the people that Leonard's case is not forgotten here in Europe. And I guess after 22 years of our work, we really can say Leonard's case is here in Europe and here in Germany now, maybe not more well known than Mumia Abu Jamal's case, but we're working very hard together, Mumia's group and us. And I remember a long time ago, the early years of the 21st decade, there were messages from Mumia to Leonard directly, or from Leonard to Mumia directly. So we want to say, yeah, we see we're working together as groups, and that helps also. People gave us a feedback from the United States saying, hey, we didn't know that there are so much people are interested in our political prisoners, or in our indigenous prisoners, or in the situation in reservations. And so we told them, okay, so let's build bridges. We need more information from your side, so we can spread the information here in Europe, European-wide. And for this is our network very important. And so we have now 3 times in the year things we're doing together. Another thing we're doing together, I don't have it now here, but let me see, maybe it's here. We had a postcard campaign last year. Yeah, I try to how it's working. This work. This postcard campaign, It was really simple, started with 3,000 postcards. Somebody who was a member of our East chapter came to the idea, why not as a lay-in into newspapers? So we printed another 50,000. And by the way, we have 53,000 postcards at last, and they were spread now over 15 countries. That was the Ukraine, it was the last country coming, and in Chile, the Mapuche people, in Mexico, the Zapatistan people, with contact to the Leonard Peltier Defense Committee in Canada, with the ELPDC in the United States, and the Oglala Commemoration Day Committee, though they spread it over reservations in Poland, in Netherlands, in Sweden, in Belgium, in France, in Italy, in Spain, in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. So at last we printed this year another 3,000. So we are now at 55 or 56,000 postcards. I don't know how many postcards went to the White House, because they are all addressed to the White House, but there's still another request, and maybe we have to print another 5,000. So at last, what I heard from some operators and people telling us, we sent now 200 of them back. We must have been there between 5,000 and 10,000 postcards are going to the White House. And with this campaign in 2021, that was for us really the last and important store opener to this cooperative kind of work, what we're doing here in Europe now. What for us important was to spread more information about Leonard's case was, now maybe it's a little bit critical. We looked what's going on in the United States. In the first years, we saw there were very good designed websites for Leonard. And in the last years, or in the last decade, I missed this a little bit. Because we need the good informations and the contacts from the support groups in the United States. We don't have the chance to talk everybody by phone with somebody. We don't have the chance to talk everybody with Leonard in prison. I have the chance to write Leonard, by email. Oh, but that starts when we released the book about his case. And that was really another important fact for the support work here in the German-speaking countries. That's this book. I translate, the title is One Life in Freedom, One Life for Freedom, sorry. Leonard Peltier and Indigenous Resistance. The book was released the first time in 2016 and was, after 1 year, sold out. It was a small edition, just 1,000 books. But nobody believed that we could sell 1,000 books. So now the second edition is close to be sold out again. And with the release of the book, we start another campaign. We called it lecture tours to Germany. Now for 2023, we planned the 12th lecture tour, and that, I guess, would be the 80th lecture date. We have now 75, 77, roundabout that dates in the last years. And counting all the guests of those, we can say maybe 3,500 people came to those events and being informed. At all those guys who had read the book, all the newspapers about this book, articles about the book, the radio shows about the book. I guess we touched more than 20,000 people, by the way. And the postcard campaign coming all together. So that we learned from the Mumia movement, because Mumia is writing in a journal, in a German daily newspaper every second week, a kind of blog. And so all the people were much more informed about Mumia's case than about Leonard's case. And a lot of people are asking us, who's Leonard, or is he still alive, or who's that? And that brought us to the idea to change the strategies, writing books, going more directly to the people and also working with the Mumia group together. And no wondering, is Mumia groups also in Spain, in Italy, who are in contact with us and supporting us and inviting us. So that was in the last 10 years. Now it's not more necessary. I guess we have our network now here in Europe. And I think for our reasons, it's working fine. And it's not, I repeat myself, I'm telling you this not to saying how great we are working, but what we learned about is to work together. That's for us one of the important things is to stay together. We have also our experiences, and when Dawn introduced me, she told you that I'm involved in social and social revolutionary movements since '68. Since the time when I changed my life, coming from a more bourgeois and upper class family, and changed my ways of thinking and acting, because I don't want to be asked the same questions I asked my parents and grandparents. Why don't you have anything done against Nazis or against wars and so on? I hope that my kids and my grandkids are never asking me this, or if they are asking me this, I can give them an answer. We really worked our ass off to stop wars and injustice everywhere, and we don't want to be, we don't give up the fight until our last day. So maybe it's a kind of our credo or our promise for the future. Yeah, we want to go on with all good willing people all over the world. And in Leonard's case, yes, especially in Leonard's case, to be one part of a worldwide movement that helps to bring him out and bring him home. It's highest time that Leonard would be released. We are thinking he's in prison just to pay the price that indigenous people rised up against the genocide, against their discrimination, against the racism. And I think his imprisonment is really one of the worst cases of injustice in the 20th and 21st century. But sometimes I'm a little bit confused seeing how our organizations here in Germany, I don't talk about Leonard support, environmental, other anti-Nazi leagues and so on, or no-nuke movements, they're working sometimes against each other. And as an old rock and blues musician, I'm not a good guitar player, maybe a little bit better singer. I always remember to a song by the old boogie legend Canned Heat. And they had a beautiful title called Let's Work Together. And one of the lines is, united we stand, divided we fall. That's this kind of practice is working to the hand of the other side. That's Sluxus, and that's not helping Leonard. So that's why we do this kind of work here in Europe. We are not working in concurrence. There are differences. That's not all common sense, but we're discussing, and every group has its own right to work. But what we're doing is now we jumped over our shadows and seeing, we try to do all together our very best, and we inform each other. And so that's the reason why we bring 2 or 3 times in the year this little YouTube slides, because that's a little kind of example how we work together. If you see people holding in different cities the banners, Free Leonard Peltier, and at the end of my lesson in the next minutes, maybe we can show this little video slide I produced for tonight. But now I just want to give you the chance to ask a question. And now I bombed you all the times with my words. Finally, before showing the slide, I want to share with you a song I wrote last year. And there's now a second song, the same music, but different lyrics. The song is called Stolen. I was thinking what I'm singing tonight. As I said, I'm not a very good guitar player, but listen, last year we heard about the founding of the mass graves of boarding school kids, or better said, then it was in Kamloops, Canada Residential School kids there. And that was nothing new for me. In our book, we wrote about this part of genocide history. Yeah, maybe just saying the book starts with the genocide history, then with a little history since the 60s of the 20th century of Red Power rising, and then a chapter of what was in the years before the incident, what happened in Pine Ridge Reservation and in the towns around there, and then there's a chapter about Leonard's youth and his political socialization, and then we came to the so-called incident of Ogallala. In another song I wrote, Pine Ridge 75, I wrote, it was no incident, it was no accident, it was an FBI attack, nothing else. That was not an incident. And then there's a chapter later about the trial and his situation in prison, his health situation. A chapter about reservation situations today. And finally, another chapter about Indian wars still aren't over. And there I'm writing more or less about the violation of against Mother Earth. But in this context, indigenous people are staying in the front line of conflicts. They are the defenders, the protectors of Mother Earth. In Brasilia, in Colombia, in Canada, in the United States, everywhere in America, in Turtle Island. And they have to pay the highest price. Discrimination, kidnapping, raping, murdering, coming in prisons, and so on. Another example why we have to think all those things together. And we're writing a little bit about this issue to make understand why support work for Leonard and also for indigenous people is for us a kind of duty. Yeah, there was this radio show, no, the TV Late News talking about Kamloops mass grave finding. A year before Claudia and me were on a powwow in Kamloops. We wrote in the book about boarding schools. We had a kind of 3-day tribunal for Leonard in Heidelberg, Germany, with native guests. For example, Mitch Walking-Ark, the Cheyenne Arapara musician, an old AIM supporter. And we want to talk about colonialization and decolonization by education. And he lost his speech. He lost his words on stage because the trauma coming back. And all this and that came back in my mind and I couldn't sleep. It was nothing new, but it touched me in that night so bad that I stood up again, took a sheet of paper, wrote down some lyrics, and as I said, as one of the not good guitar player, I looked for some chords and titled the song "Stolen." And I want to share this song with you. Why I try to express in this song are my respect to Indigenous people. And I want to try to expect that we have to know what we have done. And even if it was not me, we are still here, and everybody, and solidarity is for me more than a word. Solidarity means action. Otherwise, it's a kind of, yeah, nice having good words, but nothing doing is, that's not enough to just solidarity in words. So yeah, I want to share this little sad song with you. The first part is a reaction of this late night news about the mass graves. I wrote another part of this song with the same music about Leonard, but I don't know. I don't like to mix it. I'm not sure. I do it spontaneous, and maybe then you can think about some questions, and otherwise I stop talking. And after the song, Dawn is showing them the video slide.
Yeah, we've got some questions for you after your song.
Stone land now in their hand, stone culture now in their books, stone regalia in their museums, stone closes as if he look. Stone knowledge for their prophets, stone herbs and plants for their patents, stone history and Hollywood movies, stone ceremonies just for entertainment, stone childhood for killing inside you the Indian, stone future to keep you down, stone children up to 10 white families, stone dignity is banning you to the ground, stone life for your girls and women, stone new generations another day, stone babies by sterilization, stone dreams taken away, stone symbols for advertisement, stone feathers for some freaky hats, stone circle destroy the spiritual connection, stone wolves as old as brotherhood of comrades, stone freedom to colonize your life, stone wisdom to exploit your past, stone perspectives makes it hard to survive, stone identity is killing you at last. We gave you money and graduations, we gave you whiskey and them rusty cars, we gave you housings and television, and we gave you uniforms just for their wars. We gave you the Bible treaties and the Virgin Mother, we gave you boarding schools to brainwash your mind. They took away from you all your sisters and brothers, stole your eyes and made you blind. They took away from you all your sisters and brothers, Stole your eyes and made you blind. Stole your eyes and made you blind. Stole your eyes and made you blind. Okay.
You
Yeah.
put your soul into that, Mike. That was incredible. Kim had her hand up, and then I'll let Estelle take over with questions. If we have
Yeah.
time, I have one at the.
Actually,
Okay.
I put my question in the chat, so if Estelle would like to take over. Thank you for the song. It was amazing.
Thanks. And I decided not to sing the second part because the second part you can hear on the video slide. Just remembered when I was singing, no, I don't have to mix it because on the video slide there are two songs. The first one is a song I wrote to Leonard's 60th birthday in 2004, a song for Leonard. And yeah, I recorded the song on stage after a concert with Mitch walking out and Wait for Noneless in Offenbach, Germany, a neighbor town of Frankfurt. But it was a very spontaneous recording. Don't think that's now a big sound. And the other one is, yeah, Stolen Part 2, dedicated to Leonard. And I recorded it at home with a couple of overdubs with some other guitars and so on. I hope I could give you some impressions what we're doing and why we are doing some things. And I really think let's work together because don't let us divide. Leonard needs a strong movement. He needs really a strong movement. And I guess maybe there's now a chance, a little chance after the UN report was released. And after the National Committee of the Democratic Party puts his release on the platform of the Democratic Party, I guess that's really a big chance for him. And we had a couple of days with representatives of the parliament in France and in Germany here now in the last weeks, and try also to renew the engagement, the parliamentarian engagement we have had in the earlier years here for Leonard. In the 19th, there were 2 petitions of the European Parliament asking for clemency for Leonard. The Italian and Belgian Parliament did this. Now we try to work on that Parliament. In Germany and in France, again, the Parliament is writing a petition. It's a hard way to do this, especially in times when the world is staying in front of a collapse. I'm not talking about climate change, but we see how wars so close to our doors now again. We never believed this, that we have here war in Europe, and we see there are other problems in the main focus of politics. But I really hope that we can bring our politicians here in Europe again to write statements, petitions for Leonard's freedom. So let's work together, just as Candide sang it. And thanks for staying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Kimberly, this was your question, but several of us wondered, and I hate to just sort of insert it here, but before you go, where or how can we buy your book?
That's a problem. The book is only released in German.
Oh.
Oh, and I don't think you want to read 500 pages in German because it's really like a prick. when Leonard was laughing when he got it in his prison cell. He wrote me to.
We would
Yeah,
like to help
also-
you promote it though, if it possible, if you could tell us where it's available. We could help promote it through our social media, and we have German
Um,
friends also.
Yeah, I can write down in the chat my email address, for example, and that we can send it.
If you message it to me, I'll put it in the book club, Mike.
Pardon?
If you message it to me, I'll put it in the book club.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I read it later. Yeah. So with our email address on our website, yeah. But as I said, unfortunately, it's only in German. The first edition was a hardcover with including a DVD with a documentary about AIM and Dennis Banks, and a documentary about a prison visit in Lawrence, Kansas, with visiting by a German journalist who was visiting Leonard there, and some video slides from the I Will campaign. So in the second edition, there's no more DVD inside because we decided to spend the money more in the project work and not in the DVD. But it's not the same. There are more informations than the first edition. Yeah, because it was released 1.5 years later. But as I said, only in German.
But the book is worth to learn German.
Rena.
Yeah.
Thank you
definitely.
very much.
Well, if you want to leave the message, the information in the chat, I mean, there are actually several people here who would still like to get the book, as well as Kimberly said.
Okay. I write you the email address of us. LPSG Rheinmain@ll.com. And
Thank
that's our website, but it's also in German. Yeah, that's the first thing. When we started here 22 years ago, it was already a handful of people who remembered who was Leonard. More in the east part of Germany than here in the west. But now I guess, but at last it counts, is he out or not? And he's not. So we have to go on. Yeah, Dawn, can you show the slide? Is this possible at last? Or are there some questions? Otherwise, I want to thank you for your interest in staying no, for you, it's not the nighttime.
Well, it is actually.
Yeah.
The PowerPoint presentation knocked out the slides. I would have to go back into the computer and find them again.
I don't mean the PowerPoint. I mean the video slide. Could you show this?
I had them up, but when I pulled up PowerPoint, the window collapsed to my computer. It would take me some time to pull it up again.
Okay.
Does
I'm
anyone
sorry.
else-
And we're right about 6:35, and I think people have questions, if that's okay.
I was just
Okay,
gonna say,
okay.
does anyone
quickly,
else
though,
have questions?
If I have a real quick question, if you could email me the PowerPoint, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to distribute it to our newsletter. If that would be possible, or if you don't mind, I'm asking for permission to share it. That would be awesome.
Is that
newsletter.
okay, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have a question. Our nation is corrupt. We are the only democracy in the world with no prison oversight. We have given up our democracy. We live under the totalitarian rule of the DOJ and the FBI.
And your question is?
The question is, how do we overcome that? Is there any way to overcome that corruption? People are apathetic. Sort of setting myself on fire outside of Coleman.
Hmm. Ooh, you asked me questions.
Is that too
also-
big? Never mind, you can go to somebody else's question.
We also
Yeah,
had,
because
I think we had a question from Annie and from Dylan. Do you want to unmute yourselves?
Yes. My question is, several times, Mike, you've mentioned your wife.
Yeah.
What is her name? And tell us more about her, please.
Yeah,
I know
Claudia,
that there's a woman behind every man who does great things, and obviously you're doing great things. So tell us more about your wife.
I
Yes.
couldn't do this all without my female backbone. And Claudia we worked long time together in the Department for Youth and Welfare. We organized the German Native American Youth Project all the time. We decided that one magic night in Saskatoon to build up a support group for Leonard. That's Claudia. Claudia is some years younger than me, a handful of years younger. And she's also a social worker and youth worker. And yeah, the way how we lived, it's a little bit like we had here in Germany in the early 80s, end of the 70s. Some leading words means living together, working together, fighting together, doing personal things, professional things, and political things together. I guess that describes a little bit the way how we're living together. We have 3 children, means Claudia and me have 1 children. From my first marriage, I have 2 other children, and we have 3 beautiful grandchildren. And the youngest one, Amy, is 5 years old now. And when our native friends ask us, "What's her name? What's her name?" I told them, "Amy," and everybody starts laughing. And I must tell them, "No, no, 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 not AIM." And then why? It's just AMY. And then they told me, maybe then you wrote it wrong. Yes, but you're right. I can't do all the things, not without Claudia, but also with all the other members of our organization, like Rena and Holger and Elke in the East, and the people in the Northwest chapter. We are staying all together now as a small group, long time enough together that we know what we can move and what we can't. And that's especially a reason why we're looking for contacts and corporations, because we start very, very small and very shy, but we see it was necessary to work harder. And since I'm retired from my main job, I'm just in the moment only university teacher. I have a lot of time to spend daily 8 hours to work in our human rights group and yeah, contacting, building new strategies, looking for donations, and so on and so on.
Dylan, I think you had a question too.
Yes, Dr. Koch, thank you so much. And thank you to the group. I really enjoy these meetings. I'm here in Los Angeles. I grew up in Hawaii, Nevada on the Shoshone-Paiute Reservation. And I had a question about our country. It seems like Americans here don't know about Leonard, and also that they don't know about our history. So my question was, what are some things that Germany does?
You muted yourself, hon. You've got to unmute.
Oh, Kurt. So where did I get cut off?
What are some of the things Germany does?
Oh yeah, to educate their youth. Like I've heard as young as 3rd grade or kindergarten, and that maybe by high school, German youth have to go visit a concentration camp. And so like in America, when people don't know, you know, we've been fed this myth and we've been fed lies. So people don't know about the history. And what do you think that we can and should do that maybe Germany has done successfully or maybe not successfully?
That's a really good question. I think what happened here in Germany was on a good way on the one hand side. the informations after World War II and after this terror system of the fascist Third Reich. But it was not enough. On the one hand side, yeah, we are visiting with our school classes or youth clubs and certain concentration camps and try to inform the younger generation what happened. And in the moment, we still have witnesses from that time who are coming in schools, people who survived the Holocaust. But in the same time, also in Germany, and especially in West Germany, old Nazis were got their jobs back and so on. So it was not really 100% okay. But I guess especially after the '68 rebellion, here in Germany, people are very interested what happened all around the world. And as I said, from my personal experiences, we looked what happened, especially with the civil rights movement. Who was Martin Luther King? Then also the more radical Black Panther movement, and try to understand the struggles and the ideas behind. And then we get aware that there was Alcatraz and Wounded Knee, and maybe one background is that there was a German writer and he was very romantic, and he didn't have a clue really about Native Americans, Karl May. And he's writing in stereotypes, yeah. But in his books and later in the movies, the Native Americans were not the barbarians like in a John Wayne and John Ford Western or something like this. Like Jim Robideau once was Jim or was Bob, I don't know. Unless it was Jim. He told me, I like these movies because they are the white people falling dead from their horses.
Yeah.
It's a reduction, yeah, okay. But I guess here's and also you find in some school books informations about the situation in the United States, but more about slavery and civil rights movement and all this. For example, I'm being invited here from some schools every year to talk with a 12th grade pupil about special Native America and Native American history. And there is a bigger interest, but let's split it. Some are really interested in the human rights aspects and in a political way. Others are more like, it's exotic, it's romantic. Those we call them here hobbyists or something, a little bit esoteric movement guys. So that's not us, yeah. But there is a higher interest also in East Europe, for example, in Poland, in Russia, and so on. So your question is for me not new, because when we started in 2000 with this email campaign I was talking in the beginning about, we got a lot of emails from young Native Americans from all parts of the United States asking us, and I told you, we were really blue-eyed at that point, at that time, where can we find our cultural roots? Where can we find books about our history and so on and so on? And Claudia and me, we looked at these emails and saying, that's not a sign that we are now here an important part of a movement. It's really bad and sad. And it's the same background what comes up when I wrote the song Stolen. Yeah. And we did 13 years youth projects on the Pine Ridge and Navajo Reservation, and we donated a lot of instruments to also the Menominee Reservation. And when we are in contact with those young people, we really can experience the missing links to their culture, how they are looking for their, you know what I say, they stole their past, they stole their present, and yeah, what are the perspectives for future? And I really think I have had a look to some school books in the United States, Where's the history of the indigenous people with their land? Yeah. And I really think it's a bad and a very sad part of his American history.
Good question,
Thank you very
Bill. And
much.
I changed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lots of things to
Anybody
do.
else?
Okay. Ready for the movie? Dawn?
I can't find it, Mike. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm having technical difficulties.
I haven't. If I was a co-host, I could show it from my side, but I'm not sure that I can do this, or no.
I can give you permission to do that.
Yeah, maybe then I can try to show it.
Okay, you're co-host.
Then let me see. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm working on a backup computer and it crashes every time I look at it funny.
Yeah, now I have to look on. I have to look on my. No. Where it is. Okay. Just a minute, please. I'm on the way. So it's just to give you an impression about what we have done in the last 22 years. And it shows just activities here in Germany from our group. And I'm not showing our social projects, it's just our political campaigns for Leonard, for the Zapatist people and some other issues. And I hope it's running now. That's a song with it's walking out the way for now. I'm singing here a song for this brave old guy. Long time since seen summer's blue sky. He's caught behind great walls deep cold. Gathering this year, I'm 72 years old. More than 40 years caged in a cell. Means his life turns into a kind of living hell. Oh yeah. They sent to prison for a crime he didn't commit. Just for some corrupted apples and white man to profit. They called him a killer without any evidence. Being guilty for something that was just self-defense. This time called Reign of Terror down in Pine Ridge Rest. More than 60 Lakota were killed by goons and feds. Hold dry, my friend, it really was a lie. Just for smashing native resistance and breaking down the sky. There was no justice and and no chance for truth. In this case of racism and power politic abuse. That's why I'm singing today and here for the freedom of a warrior named Leonard Peltier. That's why I'm singing today and here for the freedom of a warrior named Leonard Peltier. That's why I'm singing today and here for the freedom of a warrior named Leonard Peltier. Freedom, for freedom, for freedom, for freedom. For freedom, for freedom of brothers and sisters, for the freedom of all the sisters, for freedom of Leonard Peltier, for freedom of Leonard Peltier, of Leonard Peltier, of Leonard Peltier.
Amazing.
Michael, I am stunned. You've got me all fired up. There's a project I've been working on and going to finish tomorrow.
Stolen children and stolen wife, stolen friends and stolen family life, stolen truths to keep you down, and stolen hopes banning you to the ground. Stolen justice in an unjust state, stolen freedom for more than 4 decades, stolen health and stolen rights, stolen contacts and no daylight, stolen fresh air and stolen peace, stolen all what you really need. Stolen presents and stolen past, stolen future at last. They gave the Koch terror without any consequence. They gave the enemy's arms and bullets to kill. They gave the judges manipulated evidence. And they gave us lies, and they always will. They gave you iron houses and prison cells. They turned your life in living hells. They took away from you all your life. But you can't stop here to the wife. But they can't take away all the years. I'll fight for the freedom of Leonard Peltier. They can't take away all the years. I'll fight for our brother Leonard Peltier. Yes, I'll fight all years. Our brother Leonard Peltier, I'll fight for you. Leonard Peltier. We'll never give up the fight for you. Never,
Mike, I'm gonna send
Yes.
you a link to Leonard's website. He would like you to have a print if you want to pick one out and give me your address.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions, or did you want to add anything, Mike? You were epic. Thank you so much for being
No,
here.
thanks for sharing the time with me, and you got my email address. So to all who were online tonight or this afternoon on your side, you can write me, you can contact me. I'm answering, we are answering, and maybe we see us next year somewhere in the United States. And I hope there will be the time we can have a big release party for Leonard. That's what I'm dreaming about since 22 years. I guess I know Leonard's dreaming about this 46 years.
Thank you for those songs. Those were just amazing.
Miigwech, Michael.
Hi, well, good to see you.
And I have a small list of people that I would like to clone. I've added you to that list, Mike.
Thank you.
Can you
Thank
bring
you.
Germany over here, Mike?
It was fine to be your guest, and I wish you success with the next weeks. And maybe sometimes I can find time to watch your books book club. For me, it's hard because on Friday mornings I have to jump into university, and also I have to bring all my lessons into this month, because in December I have a backspin surgery. So yeah. But maybe then I have a little bit more time to come into the bookstore in the book show.
You can also find them after the fact on YouTube as well.
I see it, and I put it on our website today,
Thank you.
that people
I just
can
put
have
the
a
link
look.
to the
and-
website. It has all the book club tapes, and it also has Michael's and Rena's websites if anybody wants to look at those
Awesome.
under supporters.
And again, thanks for staying with me and giving me the chance to talk about this. And what I only want to do is the same what I want to do with young people. I want to empower and give power, and I also feel the power of you people, and that's necessary because we have a hard way to walk.
Yes.
A long and windy road, to say for the Beatles.
Email sent, Michael. Email
Okay.
sent.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everyone who came tonight, and don't forget to share our YouTube channel so other people can witness our advocacy and our efforts. And thank you, Michael. It was such a pleasure having you here tonight.
Thanks for inviting me, Carol, Dawn, and all the other guests. And yeah, let's
Thank you
walk
for
on to
sharing
bring
your
this
soul
man
with
home.
us.
Let's bring him home.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Paulette has something to say. Do you, Paulette?
No, I was
Okay.
I was just waving goodbye to Michael.
Yeah, I wave back.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing your soul with us, Mike.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
thanks,
Thank you.
thanks.
And don't
Good
forget
night.
next
Have a
week,
good
everyone.
day, have a
Who's
good
our next
evening.
guest next week?
Okay.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good
Night.
night, Rena.
Good
Thank
night,
you for
everyone.
staying up.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Have a good evening.